Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our wonderful class today, Organizing Anything for Anybody. We have the wonderful Lauren Williams here with us, who is the owner of Casual Uncluttering and has a vast years of experience in supporting people in organization. And I know from getting to know her a bit that she is a hungry learner and is constantly finding opportunities to increase her knowledge and her license and her skills. So we are fortunate to have you today, Lauren. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to learning with all of you. So take it away.
Okay, so when I come in to a new client, once we've figured out where we're going to start, and there are bunches of ways to do that, I come in with a tarp. It's 5 by 5. I buy them by the case from Home Depot, and I bring that tarp and I put it down into the space we're working in, or as close to that space as I can. And if I can't use a tarp, I break out painter's tape and I section off 4 squares with those concepts you see on the screen right now of keep, move, think about, let go. Those concepts are guiding principles for the work my clients and I do, and they are time tested a good 30, 40 years in the field to be known to help minimize what is usually the single worst aspect of doing organizing, the overwhelm of it. Where do I start? What do I look at first? How do I pace myself? How do I frame the decisions? Keep means you're going to pick something up in the space we're working in, and you're going to decide to keep it in that space, even if it doesn't have an exact home yet. Move is you're going to pick something up in the space you're working in, and you're going to keep it, but not in that space. It's somewhere else in the household. So my joke is your dog brings all the toys up on the bed and you want the toys only in the living room. Or your toddler brings all the bath toys into the living room and you want the bath toys only in the bathtub. Then there's think about, ponder, consider. Give me back of the brain time for this decision. Do not rush me. If you rush me, I'm going to get flustered. I'm going to get frazzled. I'm going to second guess myself. I'm going to resent this process. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to quit and I'm going to fire you. That is not a luxury. Think about is a necessity for many, many, many people. Their brains are just slower in decision making, or certain kinds of who, what, why, when questions freeze them, fluster them, and they need to step back from the question and give themselves a little bit time. Or maybe they really don't know what they think about the thing they've just picked up. Maybe they don't know if they want to keep it, or maybe it's broken and they need to figure out, am I going to repair this and then give it back its value so that I want to keep it? And then there is let go. And let goes donate, recycle, give it back to the neighbor you borrowed it from 5 years ago, whatever it is that lets it out the door. Now, these concepts sound really big, and they sound like they make like some horrible, horrible piles. They are, and they can. But again, they're really well known to help you narrow down your focus so that you can breathe a little more easily while you're doing this work. And if they are making piles, that actually can be very helpful because you get to start seeing what your habits and your patterns are of your accumulations. And as you're making those piles, which are presumably like with like, you might see that you've got 5 can openers. But if you've got 5 can openers because they are very different in how they work, and you need all 5 of them for that reason, sometimes your hands aren't working well with arthritis, Or sometimes you've got this really odd sized can and only one can opener works. Well, then you're going to keep all 5 can openers in that pile. But if you see you've got 5 can openers and they're absolutely identical, then maybe you start asking yourself, well, do I need all 5? Do I let go of 1? Do I let go of 4? Or you might see 5 and realize that for some reason you need 10 because you've got 5 campers and you actually need to take 5 of them and put them in your campers for when you're out camping. Who knows? Now, once you've done all that sorting and that merging and that letting go, typically an organizer is also going to help you figure out, well, where exactly do things belong? And I use myself as an example of that. My pantry is non-existent. My kitchen is so small, I don't have a pantry. I have had to take bookcases and put them in my bedroom, and that's my pantry. The next step is often after that, well, how do things get stored? So, for example, if things are out of sight and out of mind, because you're a very visual learner, an organizer will help you figure out, do you need clear bins? Do they need to be labeled? Do the bins need to have color-coded lids? Do the shelves that the bins are going on need to be labeled? Do you maybe even need a little map somewhere to remind you of where things go? Now, setting all that aside, what this talk is going to be about is mostly that very first step of how do you sort things? How do you make the decisions? And with that in mind, that the grid is letting you narrow down your focus, is letting you eliminate some of the overwhelm of this process. Well, why is that important? What is creating that overwhelm? It's usually, drum roll, please, your emotions getting in your way.
Lauren,
And
can I interrupt you for just a second? Are you
yes,
able to turn your volume up at all? Someone is having
yes,
a,
let me see. Let me see if I've got it.
okay,
Oh, yeah, I've got it way down. Here we
okay.
go. Is that better?
Let's see, Marcia, let us know if that's better. Maybe just put it in the chat.
Testing.
Yep. Someone's joining with an iPhone, which can make it difficult. Still low. I'm sorry. That's as high as we can make it.
All right, let me take a look at my headphone. Maybe my
Okay.
headphone can be.
Okay.
I think I've also now adjusted it through my headphone. Is that better? I can also take a really quick look through my computer settings. So hold on half a minute.
Let's see. Someone else is on an iPhone and it's working. There's always a little some little snag. So I think, yep, okay.
Yeah, I do now have it as high as I can on my machine, unfortunately. So
That's all right. I think it's as good as we're gonna get. Hang in there, Marcia. It'll be recorded and easier to hear later on a desktop, perhaps. All right. Thank you for checking that, Lauren, and bring us back to how our emotions are part of the challenge in organizing.
yeah, our emotions are about absolutely anything. You can have emotions about a rock. You can have emotions about the table you're sitting at. You can have emotions about your clothing, absolutely anything. And usually becoming more objective about your emotional responses to yourself, your stuff makes the process much, much easier. You become more confident in your decision making, more consistent in your decision making. And the grid, again, helps you slow down your impulsive emotional reactions to your stuff so that you can look at things a little more rationally. And the next slides are my favorite example of that. Let's see. This coconut, which I found in a Goodwill, was, when I found it, I thought, in truth, one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. And I used to have it physically. I let it go a while ago because it was starting to unfortunately get damaged. All I've got is this photo now. But I used to actually take it out of a case when I was giving this kind of a talk and show it around the room. And here I am saying, I think it's one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. And invariably, there would be someone in my audience who would have a reaction of, "Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. I wish I had one like that. If I ever get to Hawaii or next time I get to Hawaii, I'm gonna make one." Great, that's wonderful. This is Coco. Coco is one of my most prized possessions. The only reason I am not going to be buried with Coco is my son already has dibs on Coco. Coco is something that my father won for me when I was like 8, 10, 12 years old in a skee ball arcade in Wildwood, New Jersey, which was the place we would go to for vacations every summer for years. I do still have Coco. And when I would bring Coco out for this talk and show him around to people, and I'm explaining how absolutely precious he is to me, I would often have someone in the audience ask me to please put that away immediately because it is giving me the creeps. Our emotions are entirely subjective. Our emotions are entirely unique to each and every one of us. So, what are the kinds of things that we do often have to try and organize and that we get very emotional about? Arts and crafts, the bathroom, because that's where we're making ourselves our best selves in many ways. Similarly with clothing, our collectibles, which may bring back family memories like that, or may be a representation of our aspirations for travel or for us achieving a certain style in our homes, kitchen. Oh my gosh, how many of us don't have very fond memories of cooking with family or cooking with friends, or that favorite meal that we were able to reproduce from a restaurant, or. With all of this in mind, what mental work helps you sort? And we'll get into everybody raising their hands and telling me what their challenges are in just a couple of minutes. During the sorting process, giving yourself as many tools as you possibly can for focus really helps. For some people, it's aromatherapy. For some people, it's books on tape. For some people, it's having your pet nearby or a partner, whether that's a family member or a friend. Self-care and more self-care. Take those breaks, eat, have your favorite glass of cold tea around, whatever it's going to work. Time management. For many people, a fuzzy sense of time is a part of their challenges. So learning anything that helps you manage your sense of time can be very valuable. And the grid is a very useful tool for that as well. I'm going to go back to it for a minute to demonstrate one of the reasons why. Move is what I call an anchor in this process. My clients, unless they have fibromyalgia or something else which makes them really need to move very frequently, are not allowed to take items off of that move section until perhaps 15 minutes, a half hour before the end of a session. And then we do what I call the reverse shopping trip throughout the house, where we scoop up the armful that's going out of the living room into the kitchen and bring it there. Or we scoop up the armful of stuff that's going out of the living room into the bedroom and we bring it there. And here's why. For many of my clients, at least, oh, I know where this necklace goes. I know where this necklace goes. I'm going to go and bring it there. Oh, wait, halfway through, I know what I wanted to do with that thing. I'm going to go take care of that thing really quick. Oh, wait. And 2 hours later, they're not in the living room where we've been working, and they have not come back to the living room where we've been working. They've been completely distracted. Move, unless it's that $10,000 check that really does need to get in your wallet right now, or it doesn't get cashed tomorrow, nothing moves. You don't move things. You keep yourself from ping-ponging with that one simple technique. And if that's the only thing that you take away today, that one might really be helpful, very, very helpful. Oh, and here's another thing about move that I will speak of now because it's very confusing, very, very counterintuitive. Let's say you really do have some pretty big piles in that move section. And let's say it's likely that moving those piles into other rooms is going to create more chaos, less structure in those other rooms. I promise that's still okay. That is still progress because you are accomplishing your main goal of clearing space in the one primary room that you're focused on. And you are down the road still giving yourself a better understanding of what you're going to deal with and need to figure out in those other spaces. It might feel like you're bringing coals to Newcastle, which is an expression about bringing coals into a coal mining district in England, but it's really that you're giving yourself a better understanding of what are your quantities, what are your likes to likes that you'll need to be evaluating at some point. Find your values in this work. If it really is that you are a cook and a darn good one, and you've lost sight of that by having more pots and pans than is effective for you, you don't have to say something to yourself like, well, I'm letting go of pots and pans. I can't cook anymore. You can try to reframe the conversation as, well, I'm letting go of some pots and pans to keep the ones that work best for me, for the kinds of foods I like to cook, and I am reclaiming my ability to cook. Tell your stories about this stuff. If you are letting go of a pot that you only used once, but you used it to successfully cook paella for 50 people at your best dinner party ever, tell somebody that story. Write that story down. Take a photo of that pot and keep the memory without keeping the thing. The more you honor your instincts, the more you let yourself have that connection to the stuff, not necessarily the stuff, the more often you will be able to do this kind of work successfully. And the more often you make one decision, even if it's not easy, the easier the next decision gets because you're starting to teach your brain those different ways of thinking, and you're starting to sometimes ease the anxiety and the stress and even the pain a little bit around the letting go. There are two main ways of looking at the world. You feel it or you think it. Some people do some mix of both. Many of us do. But some people are really one or the other. If you're one or the other, let yourself have that. This feels right to me. I am enjoying this process. This is satisfying to let it go. this doesn't feel so good, but I can do it. Or I think this is the right decision. I've evaluated my options. I've analyzed my situation. I've researched what is right, and that's what I'm going to do. Not a problem. Let yourself lean into the way your brain works, and you will have a better chance of doing this well. And don't rush. Do not rush. Do not rush. The more you rush, the more you just create, again, stress, anxiety. The more you are likely to second guess yourself. You may have circumstances where you have to rush, but even there, as you can, try to give yourself breathing room. Try to take breaks. Try to at least maybe give yourself a sense of pacing with the being rushed by saying, what can I do in 5 minutes, or what can I do in 10 minutes? Can I make 5 decisions? Can I make 3 decisions? Make it even a little playful. Try and get a little creativity in the process. That can go a huge way. Excuse me. I actually start to lose my voice when I talk too much. Used to tell bedtime stories to my son and have too many voices, and I would be hoarse by the end of the night. What works to make the space less physically scary? Use that grid. Use that grid, use that grid, and use that grid, because again, that's narrowing down your focus. You're not looking at everything around you and everywhere around you. You're looking at one thing, making one decision. There it goes. Next thing, next decision. There it goes. Always narrow down your focus to one room or one space at a time. It's generally considered more effective to finish that space because you don't get confused that way. You don't think, or not even not think, you don't get lost. Where did I go? What did I do? You also get that boost of accomplishment because you can look at that space and say, wow, look at me, look what I done. There's a technique called treasure hunting, where you only look for the books, or you only look for the clothing, or you only look for the jewelry or whatever. That can be very effective for some people because that can be very playful again. Timing, again, many of our brains work very, very, very well in a pattern of 15, 20 minutes on, 5-minute break off, 15 or 20 minutes on, 5-10-minute break off, 15 or 20 minutes on, longer break, a good 15 or 20 minutes off. And you can mix and match this stuff. You can decide, I'm only going to work in my library. I'm only going to work on the topmost left-hand shelf near the door. And I'm only going to look for the mysteries. And I'm only going to work for 15 minutes looking for the mysteries. It's whatever makes the process least intimidating, whatever makes the process feel most manageable. You're looking for the tiniest little stepping stone of accomplishment to build off of, to build the habits against. And I believe fervently that 5 to 15 minutes a day is significantly more effective, significantly more productive than ever trying to marathon anything. I can't tell you how often clients who try to marathon with me, at least, usually against my best advice, do that marathon and then crash and burn for a week to 2 weeks even. And think about it. What's easier to come back from? Not doing anything, not doing anything, not doing anything, doing too much, or not doing anything after you've done something, 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 something. You miss a day or two for vacation or being sick or whatever else, and then you hop back to it. When you're trying to build habits, especially those little incremental ones, something that can be very helpful for people is something called habit stacking, where you take something that's well established and you build a second habit on top of that. The favorite example is you brush your teeth and you floss your teeth. Some people might want to build their clearing up routines around, I've done the dinner dishes, now I'm going to go and clear the house for 5 minutes or 15 minutes. Or I've just come home from work, I did bring in the mail, and now I'm also going to spend 5 or 10 minutes doing a little bit of clearing up. Now, with all of that said, what I actually would like to do is open up for questions. And you can have questions about particular kinds of things. You can have further questions about these very broad concepts I've introduced. Go for the gold.
I wanted to highlight something that someone put into the chat. So I'm going to say Jacinta. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Was sharing that that they have 7 kids, and okay, great, and they're adults and teens now, and just the challenge of not giving away things, or the challenge of being able to give away things that were left by kids, that are kind of forgotten in the house. Kids are moving on to different parts of their life. So, like, what might you, obviously, as a mother, I know there's emotion involved in that. So for sure. But what might you recommend, Lauren?
Well, quite frankly, the first thing I always say to parents, and they don't necessarily like hearing this, is if your kids are old enough to be involved in that decision making, go ahead and ask them. They need to learn those skills if they don't have them. And they need to have agency in what these things are that eventually you're going to essentially, and I'm saying this harshly to be illustrating the concept, pushing off on them, whether or not perhaps they wanted them. If you really are saying to me, to yourself, well, there are some things I think I might want to keep. I'm their mom, and these things are precious to me. Yes, everybody's got that. I've got a 20-year-old son, and I've got some of his stuff from babyhood and on. Many people, what they develop is a memorabilia box. For some people, it's one per family member. For some people, it's one per year. For some people, it's just that one box, the whole family, the lifetime of the family. I mean, that's sometimes dependent on space resources, finance resources, about, how many boxes can you buy? And whatever it is that you come up with, one of the broad rules of thumb is, if that box eventually gets full with everything you've crammed into it, well, the next time the one new thing has to come in, you do have to let one thing go to make space for it. For school stuff in particular, I've developed a very personal system. I have no idea if anybody else uses it, where I used to let myself keep everything from my young person's school year. And I swear, when he was young enough, it felt like if he sneezed on something, the teacher called it art. And then, say, late July, early August, just before the start of a new school year, is when I would go through everything. And it was my habit to try and keep 2, maybe 3 things at the very start of the school year that I thought demonstrated who he was and what his abilities were. Then maybe December, same thing. And then end of year, same thing. And then I used to cheat. I admit it was a cheat. All of my relatives are on the East Coast. So I would take all the leftovers and I would mail them out as care packages. And then, of course, if there were those things that really spoke to me above and beyond that stuff, I would keep it. I honestly have framed some of my kids' stuff because he's a decent artist. And then there were those things that I thought were necessary to keep because I thought they might be useful to him in future school endeavors. So, the IEP papers, if a kid happens to have those, the actual report cards, But eventually, I'm going to hand him that box and I'm going to say to him, kid, if you want to shred all this, go for it. Because otherwise, I'm just burdening my son with my sentimentality. Those values may not be my son's values. And if I don't honor that, I'm just imposing on him. And the same goes for anything that our children own, be it the stuffed animals, be it their sports trophies, anything. We ultimately have to make them make those decisions. Now, I have worked with people where they are kind of trapped by having kids who are very, very sentimental, who want to keep things even when the parents don't have those same instincts. And then, yes, you can try and start teaching them these same evaluative processes, or you can even hire an organizer, a neutral third party who gets to be the bad guy to try and help them learn these concepts. Is that a sufficient answer or a good start at least? And then are there other questions?
I think it's a very thorough answer. Yes. Anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask Lauren right now before she moves forward? You can come off mute if you like. Permission granted. Someone mentioned, not related to children, that that kind of creating a space to hold the special items and then being able to get rid or donate or pass along the others. That's a nice way of kind of honoring the keepsakes and just kind of picking a special place, either a shelf or a box, or like you're saying, a memorabilia. That makes a lot of sense to honor that some of these things are really precious, but that all of them don't need to be, as one of my friends said, given a life. Like, you give a life to items and then it makes it harder to get rid of them. So, yeah.
And sometimes to let go, that word honor is really useful. Don't just let go of something to the big G, goodwill. Make that letting go more meaningful. And I use myself again as an example of that. I moved here from Maryland a good 15 years ago now, and I had to let go of literally a couple of tons of stuff. And the stuff that could be donated, most of it went off to Goodwill without me blinking. I don't have some of the same qualms about Goodwill as other people do. And that's all absolutely valid, whatever your decisions are. But then there was my snowblower. And it made me really angry to let go of my snowblower because I just enjoyed using that thing. I'm 5 feet tall. It was as tall as I am. And I just felt really powerful behind that thing. So I got stubborn and I Googled donate snowblower. And it turned out there was a nature center 15 minutes from my house that had snowblower at the top of its wish list. And it turned out that my son had gone to summer camp there. We used to take nature walks there. So something that could have been really angering instead was something very satisfying, not only for me, but for him. So sometimes just finding that better way of letting go can also help that process.
That is a
Dana?
great story. That's a meaningful example. Go ahead, Dana.
I love antiques, and one time this older couple gave me a box full of their antiques, and in it was all these probably index cards that are maybe 50 to 60 years old, and I still have those. I don't need them, but how do I get rid of those?
Keep one or two that for some reason speak to you the most. Maybe there's one that's got a handwritten note on it.
No, they're
That
all blank. They're all blank. I just like the idea of having, oh, these were 100 years old, you know?
keep one or two as symbols and let the rest go. Keep whatever is your comfortable number of them and let the rest go. And remind yourself, sometimes this does help, that anytime you let something go, you're creating mental, emotional, and or physical space for another opportunity. Your space is a kind of currency. It has value equal to your time, equal to money, and freeing up space can do everything from making you safer to giving you more elbow room for arts and crafts, to letting you clear, this I'm just making up as an example, letting you clear the couch so you can have company over. Remind yourself of why doing something like letting go index cards has value to you, has meaning to you. And yes, let yourself have one or two if they're cool. There's no harm in keeping one or two index cards. Even I'm going to say that's a tiny little footprint. You can find a way of make them into bookmarks, reuse them in some creative way as well. Give them greater value for what they are.
That's awesome. Thank you. Holly, you have your hand up. Go for it.
Oh, I just had a question. I'm not sure what she's referring to. Is it just plain index cards, or is it something like a historian or historical society or
No, they're
some?
just plain index cards. They're old.
Oh,
They're real
gotcha.
old.
Okay.
And
Because I thought they might be like these antique cool things that historical societies like to have, but okay, cool.
right.
Uh, um,
Sorry about that. Yeah, did you have another question, Holly?
no, I wrote something in the chat, but I've been trying for 10 months to rectify this problem. I moved in 10 months ago, and we're gonna try another plan with what I wrote in the chat about with the, sorry, I live near a hospital, so there's fire alarms and alarm trucks all the time.
Yeah, it's okay.
My next plan of attack, since I haven't had an aide in 4 months and I have really inconsistent care aide, is I'm gonna try this summer with my son. I can only do things for about 5 minutes before I get an excruciating pain.
Oh,
And that's if I remember an executive function, all the other issues with traumatic brain injury. But I'm gonna attempt to do things somehow for 5 minutes, even if I'm at the point of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
yes.
Yeah.
Because I still have boxes that are not unpacked from 10 months ago because of trying to get all the hierarchy of needs met and, and all that. So my attempt this summer when my son's off school is maybe taking 5 minutes a day, even starting at that point, and
Yes.
just looking at, just whatever I can do physically and with his cognitive capacity to help me, in those 5 minutes. Okay, what do we do with this? What do we do with that? And just see if we can tackle it over the summer and finally be done with it. Because I've been living with 10 months, but until I get consistent care aides, I can't do it. So that's my next plan of attack. It's just a thought. I don't know.
No, it's a really good one, because again, it's helping you building up that resilience. It is helping you building up that stamina.
Yeah.
It is helping you learn at an elemental level the decision making. So
Right.
that 5 minutes a day, or one thing a day, that's great. If that's all you can do, that is gonna get the work done. I don't know what support structures you have in place, but yes, you might also want to reach out to, depending on where you live. There's Sound Generations, there's Nest, there's Catholic Charities, there's Jewish Family Service. Many of those kinds of agencies have volunteers.
I've recently in the last 2 days discovered something called shortest way to say this. Because of my brain injury, I became destitute. I ended up in state housing. So I just talked to a third level supervisor, that's not the right way to say it, but that's not how my brain can say it right now, who's actually just told me there's something called Neighborhood House. that might have the ability to have some kind of case manager that can help me go through all these things, whether it's trying to figure out how to get a government program, like, because I have vision processing issues, auditory processing, it's a whole thing. So even though I'm not a stupid person, I'm not who I was before the accident. So it's just, you know what I mean? I can't get these things accomplished on my own
Yeah,
at
in-
this point in recovery, I should say it that way.
in particular, the expression, the wording you might want to try to be invoking might be something called heavy chores or heavy
Okay.
lifting.
Yeah.
That's a specialized kind of service where there is an expectation that you might need more than somebody just coming in and dusting.
Yeah, I mean, I
And-
only need a couple of things, but it's a couple of things I literally can't
Right.
do right now. So, and I have 15 hours a week, but when you don't get it for 4 months at a time, it's
Mhm.
not very helpful.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say to Holly and to everyone, I want to applaud you for bringing your son into the process. That's excellent modeling. It's connecting on really practical life skills that all of us benefit from having the opportunity to spend time doing practical things with people that we care about. It's really helpful, just character building and life skill building. So thank you for sharing that, Holly, and for people putting some ideas in the chat. Go ahead and move forward, Lauren. This is fabulous. Thanks, everybody.
Are there other questions? Don't know why, but I'm not seeing the chat, so I don't know if there are. There it is. Wow, there are a lot of chat.
It's great. It's great. People are really engaged, which pleases me tremendously.
Okay, I'm going to jump to Carrie. I'm in the process of going through many collections that belong to my wonderful father. 2,000 books, menorahs, wooden ships, artwork. It can be very overwhelming at times. What I might be saying there is very much the same thing of find meaningful places to let those go. The menorahs might well be something that some of the gift shops, say of the synagogues over on Mercer Island, would be grateful to carry as fundraising items for their congregation, or might be very grateful to get as auction items for their once-a-year gala. The wooden ships, maybe an agency like Center for Wooden Boats would be interested in some part of that collection. And absolutely, of course, let yourself keep some of this. Those are wonderful memories. Those are things that you can perhaps pass on to the next generations. Don't be ashamed of wanting to let yourself have some of that, but it needs to be in proportion. And sometimes it's about balance and compromise, and I will use a nasty word, sacrifice. You might keep all the menorahs, but you might need to let go of all the boats to make space for them. And given what you're saying of the quantities, one of the challenges you might be struggling with is that you've been taught these keeping instincts a little bit, and you've inherited, in a way, a predisposition genetically to keeping instincts, and that can make the questions and the process harder for you.
I just wanted to say, I've realized that it wasn't the owning of the object, it was my father's joy of collecting the book or collecting the menorah, or, oh, there's another one, or there's another boat. But it was his journey of it being retired and having this enjoyment of finding these things. And, it's way too much. But I've been able to share some with my other family members, and I am managing. I'm just giving myself permission to take time, because it takes
Okay.
a lot of time.
Yes.
And some days it's easier than others. And then I just wanted to say the books, I'm going through them with my daughter, my older daughter, and it's really fun because he'll have like stuck a little note in there or we find these little things in the books. And just I wasn't even aware of all, like he had a lot of literature and history and art, and I was so busy caring for him that I never really spent the time to look at everything that was shelved in his home. But so we're just kind of enjoying that, and then finding the right places to donate to. It's important for me to just treat everything with integrity,
Yes.
and I'm not a like have a yard sale, take it to Goodwill. I'm kind of more of I have the ability to do that. So I have space in my home to store them as I work through it. So I'm fortunate. Not everyone has that option. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're
Okay.
welcome. Oh, come on, wake up. I'm gonna skip around, see if there's anything. Feel guilty about giving stuff that is not mine. Feel guilty about giving it away. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, if you're comfortable telling me that. Is this also in relationship to your children's things again? Because again, that's where, yeah, involve the kids if you can. Let them make the decisions if you feel they are old enough. Of course, when somebody's 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, you got to make the decisions for them. But 5 years old, 6 years old and up, I actually feel can be involved in decisions. Sometimes with a little bit of bribery, okay, sweetie, if you let go of 5 things and you let them decide that they're going to go maybe to a children's home, then you can have one new thing. But guilt is a very, very powerful emotion that really can hold us back. I agree to that. It's often what motivates people to be very, very conscientious about recycling. Unfortunately, there's also it also can become an excuse. Oh, I can't let it go unless I let it go perfectly, unless I let it go exactly right. And that perfectionism can be a horrible, horrible trap. Zoom groups that gather to task? Yes. Clutter buddies. Clutterers Anonymous is an incredible group. They are people who have formed decluttering principles around the principles of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, adapted them to decluttering. And the more I learn about them, the more I just think they are an awesome, awesome collection of folk. Highly sympathetic, creative, playful. They used to meet in person pre-COVID. I don't know that even post-COVID, there are as many in-person meetings as used to be, but they have literally clutter parties, decluttering parties, and you can find them 24/7, 365, as far as I know. Absolutely wonderful. There's a similar concept of an online community called FocusMate, developed by a gentleman with ADHD, where you can sign up for an appointment with a complete stranger from anywhere around the world in 50 minute increments, with this highly structured ritual of how you sign in, how you say hello, how you say maybe halfway through, hey, I got something done. And then at the end, hi, bye. And it's so successful that last I checked in, you could have 3 such meetings a week for free. And if you like it that much, you can have a subscription for, I think it might be like 5, maybe $15 a month. It's a great, great group.
What I hear in that is accountability and
Yes.
witnessing. It
Yes.
really feels good. I mean, we're social creatures. It's really helpful when a lot of us live alone or have become more isolated because of the ways of the world and such. And so I think this is just wonderful, really great to feel that sense of accomplishment and be able to share it. It means a lot.
So I see a question about my rates asking, do I take Medicare? I will take any combination of funding that lets my clients pay for me. I have been paid through social service agencies. I have had parents paying for children, children paying for parents, friends paying for friends. I do not only take Medicare because, quite honestly, I can't afford those rates unless it's my full reimbursement, which is, and I'm only quoting myself, I'm not allowed to even pretend to know colleagues' rates because that would be considered price fixing. But I'm $110 an hour. And if I am going on site with a client, even though it angers me, I have to charge sales tax. So that's dependent on on clients' locations. And that will anger me till I die, but I gotta do it. I am mid-range for my skills and experience. A lot of my colleagues think I am undervalued. And
What-
that's not a brag, just to give you an idea.
Just curious what area you're out of?
I am based in Woodinville, but honest is, if a project is interesting, I've gone as far down as Ording. I have a current client up in Sultan. I go, Sammamish. I go towards.
Awesome.
It depends. If I'm a good match and if I can get it into my schedule, I always consider taking on a new project. And if I'm not a good match, it's my professional obligation to try and help someone find a good match.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lauren, are you able to put a link to your contact information in the chat? Could
Yeah.
you do that for people? Because I will be sending out to everyone just an email and with slides to share. And we'll put the information in that email as well. But if you have the ability to take this information of Lauren's out of the chat, you can do it that way too.
And I think it's on the slides. I think I put it
Oh
up.
yeah. Okay, good. Someone's asking that, so they're stating that their husband, who was a doctor, suddenly passed away. First of all, I'm sorry. That's a lot to be holding and experiencing. Saying though, 3 medical clinics full of framed awards and degrees. Any ideas? It's a great question.
That's the kind of thing that I certainly suggest. Photos. Keep the memory, not necessarily be overwhelmed by the things. But still, if there are those few you can cherry pick that speak most to you, yes, let yourself have those. Maybe 1 or 2 of the certificates that are from the very start of your husband's professional journey, and then maybe 1 or 2 that illustrate as he was starting to become more accomplished. And then, yes, that one that is the honorary magna cum laude PhD from Oxford. I mean, I'm making this up to be silly, but if there are things that are equally relevant, let yourself have those if those are memories that you also want to cherish, or that you believe if there are family members who want to cherish. It's again, it's about trying to find balance. Maybe you decide that you have one shelf somewhere that can fit as many as that one shelf can fit and then you let the rest go. In terms of donating or such, unfortunately, that kind of thing tends to be so personalized. It's not something that can be donated. In fact, many people are a little weirded out by the idea of donating things that are that personal. They feel like their data is being let go and they don't want to do that. And that's, I promise that's okay. You're not dishonoring anyone if circumstances dictate that things must go to the trash. But photos, and more photos, maybe even make a really beautiful album, or there are wonderful, wonderful photo boxes, photo kits that you can keep things in. Write out the stories of what those trophies and those awards and all that were to further cement the memories. But I promise you're not dishonoring him if you're letting things go. I promise. But don't do it until you're ready also. If that's 2 weeks from now, great. If that's 2 years from now, that's okay. Don't rush it.
Yeah, that's lovely to mention. It's important that everyone honors their process of grief and letting go of things that are particularly nostalgic.
Yeah, there is no such thing as a right or wrong way to grieve. There is no such thing as a schedule for grieving.
Mm-mm. Well, wonderful. Well, you have given us an hour of your incredible time. This has been absolutely enriching. And I'm so thankful for all of the participation, for everyone attending. It makes the experience so much more fulfilling and meaningful.
Yeah.
Thank you for the tips. I've learned so much from you, Lauren, and also from ideas presented by people that were attending. Yep, and people are just making sure. Yes, I am going to be emailing you all the slides, and I'm going to try, this will be my first try, summary notes. So there was a little note taker that is present in the meeting, an AI note taker. So we'll see what that looks like. And if it seems legible and logical, then I will give it a go. So wish me luck. Did you have anything
also
else,
might be able
Lauren?
to, you might be able to capture the chat itself, which can be, for you, if nothing else, a useful reference point sometimes as you're trying to reread the transcription.
Yeah,
Used to be
true.
the professional development director for my chapter of one of my professional societies, and I had to coordinate the meetings.
Yeah, it's a whole extra piece that sometimes goes more smoothly than others. Oh, yes, Dina.
I just thought of what I'll do with those note cards. They're in my memory cabinet and I'll move them to my desk to be used, you know? Thank you, Lauren.
Dana, that's awesome. Dana, you are notorious for applying new learning immediately. You always inspire me. Thank you for sharing that. That's excellent. And how
Yeah.
fun. I love a good note card. That's just great. It's a great way to repurpose them and use them. Wonderful.
Right.
Well, thank you all. I'm going to just stop the recording just a moment. Let's see.